Good morning and welcome, and thank you for inviting me to talk about my art and my career. We do travel quite a bit, but there's no way I get to half of the places that I will be showing to you in my presentation. But I sit at home and people send me work or photos, so that's why I'm called the armchair traveler. I was born in Winnipeg and raised in Winnipeg in 1942, and my interest in art began at a very young age. I can recall in kindergarten taking my work like from Disney characters. I draw Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, take them to show and tell. I was encouraged to keep on doing it and keep bringing my work, so that's where I started. I also did some work with comics, Jughead and Archie, and took them to the school as well. I was always doodling at school. In fact, my books were covered in it, outside and inside, so I always had a sketch pad and a pencil with me, and I also did pencil sketches of my aunts, my uncles, a lot of my relatives, and my grandmother at roughly around age 7. My father, George, and my mother, Alice, were very, very supportive of my interest in art. And my uncle was an artist, which helped me get started and learn some of the craft. At age 12 or 13, a friend of my father's bought me an art book, and it was Professional Guide to Drawing and Illustrations by John Moran's. And this is one of the sketches, one of my paintings or sketches from that book. And I wish I still had the book today. Art always gave me my highest marks. At age 14 or 15, I took a correspondence course from Learn to Draw out of the USA. And I continued doing that for about a year. What we did is we finished our projects, mailed them back, and they critiqued them and graded them and sent them back. And it just helped to build my confidence and my technique. In 1958, at age 16, I quit school. I got a job at Eaton's, picking up parcels to start. Both sides of my family, I think just about everybody worked at Eaton's. This is the main store on Portage and Carlton, actually, and this is where I spent 10 years of my life. I picked up parcels from the desks in each department, put them in a truck, carried them to the chute. The chute went from the 8th floor to the basement, dropped in the parcels. Of course, the chute was spiral; it wasn't straight down, so they did get there in one piece. But once in a while, the chute got plugged, and we were able to, at that age, it was quite a thrill to get into that chute and ride the chute down and unplug the parcels. And we did that a lot. Actually, even if it wasn't plugged, we rode the chute. After working in a number of departments in Eaton's, I was able to land a job in the display department, and it was the highlight of my working career. I did a number of interior displays. We also did the windows totally around the store. There was about 46, but we did work in the fashion department. We did Santa Claus Parade, and then one of my fondest memories was when we decorated the windows for Toyland. People come for miles to see our Toyland windows. It was the highlight of my work. The mechanical figures for the Santa's Village and Toyland displays were built in 1946 by aircraft technicians and Second World War veterans for the Eaton store in Winnipeg, and were powered by war surplus motors. Appearing in the Portage Avenue windows of the downtown store, the displays complemented the annual Santa Claus Parade. We did a number of floats for that parade. These window displays now make up the Saskatoon Western Development Museum's Once Upon Christmas display. And this is a note from Wikipedia. For many years, the Winnipeg Stores was considered the most successful department store in the world. As late as the 60s, Canadian Magazine estimated that Winnipeggers spent more than 50 cents of every dollar shopping at Eaton's. In the 1960s, I did a number of oil paintings, and they were from calendar images. I recall selling them for around $25, and I gave a lot of them away to my family and friends. This is one of my oil paintings. This is another one of my oil paintings. These are my children, Robert and Pam. They were around 5 or 6 years old at the time. I worked for Eaton's in Winnipeg for 10 years, the main store. And then I got transferred to the Polo Park store, which was a smaller store at Polo Park. I moved to Saskatchewan and took over the display manager's job at Eaton's in Regina. 2 years later, part of my responsibility was Moose Jaw store as well. During Buffalo Days, and I'm sure we all remember Buffalo Days, it was a big celebration for us in the store. We did displays throughout our store with Buffalo Days paraphernalia. And there used to be a contest, and we won the award for quite a few years. It was during that time, during Buffalo Days, that I started growing my mustache. That was a long time ago, and I still have it. But I commandeered a lot of the staff, because there was a contest for that as well, and we won that for quite a few years. Anyway, as you see, I have a lot more hair, and my friend said I look like the fellow from Welcome Back, Kotter. In 1978, I left the company, and we and my partners, two of my partners, created a new company called Regina Visual Display. A large part of our work for Regina Visual Display was the trade show industry. I think we did just about every trade show that came into the city. We worked on exhibition, Center of the Arts, Rough Riders, Canada Games, Sherwood Credit Union, and many more. We changed our name to Display Coast, and this happens to be our new offices and one of the floats we did for one of our major clients. I was painting the interior of an artist, Beth Gaffney. I'm sure a lot of you know her. And I was painting her home, inside her home, and fell in love with her work. Her artwork was so impressive, I ended up taking classes from her. This is a painting. My wife Diane and I went to Titanic, and they were handing out booklets, and this was a 2-page spread from that booklet. This painting shows the second-class passengers having a party in the lower level of the Titanic. And this is Diana's father, Sam, at Emma Lake in northern Saskatchewan. And it means very much to us, because this was the last time Sam made it to the lake. So the pots, I got them from National Geographic. I just thought it was an interesting layout, black backdrop. And this is a painting. I call it Sharing a Drink. And this is in Thailand. And the interesting part, technically, about this painting, as you know, in watercolor, the paper becomes anything that is left is white. So because the paper was high quality, I was able to scratch some of the paper out for some of the more details in their hair. It just helped to finish the painting. You've probably noticed I like trains. I grew up with them. And this painting is in India. They're actually, what they're doing is they're going through ashes, sifting through ashes to find if there's any that have not been burnt. They take them home or to use in their own stoves, or they sell them on the street for extra money. My wife and I who's an accomplished painter herself, got together with a number of other artists to exhibit together. There were 7 of us in the group. We were going to call ourselves the Group of 7, but it had already been taken. So we called ourselves the Group of 6.5. We organized our own shows in Regina and Saskatoon. Diana paints with acrylic on canvas. This is one of her paintings. Trains happen to be one of my loves, and this is a train in Germany. And this is a tinsmith, and he's actually fixing an old pot. This is the perfume maker. He's in India. It's quite detailed. Some of my artworks are done on commission. There was a lady in our condo that approached me and asked me if I would do a painting of her grandsons with a train station background, with a train and a train station. This is the sketch I did for her. And at her suggestion, I changed the name of the station to Grandsonville. This is a photo of the children, of her grandkids. In particular, I had to make sure the shadows would work the same in the painting as what's in the painting itself. And this is the finished product. And she was very pleased with it. I had a major solo show at the University Club at the University of Regina earlier this year. It was a large retrospective. The show was entitled Exotic Pictures of an Armchair Traveler, and I had 25 of my artworks, and it included my earliest oil painting of the stag from '67, which I showed to you earlier. We even did a catalog. I was thrilled. I mean, to walk in there and just see all my workplace, it was just it was an amazing experience, very emotional experience for me. I didn't want the show to ever come down. We've never been to Venice, but 2 of my friends took a vacation there, and this is the finished painting from that photo. This is called Contemplation. With my watercolors, I do a lot of detailed work. I call it painting with my little brush. And if I do a lot of detail, so I'm not in a purist watercolorist, but because I use a lot of pencil and do a lot of detail work, this just shows you some of the detail that I use in my work. But the end result, it's still watercolor, but I do a lot of sketching. And this man is called the Happy Man. He's in Nepal. Oh, and Cuba. My wife and I were to Cuba. Beautiful, just loved it. This was in Bordeaux, France, a busker. It was at my show, and one of the patrons spotted it and suggested that he had a photo very similar to it when he was in Barcelona. And this is the photo. I asked him if he would mind if I painted it. And here I am with my little brush doing the finishing touches. And that's the finished painting. This is a photo I got from a friend, from a calendar. And the beauty of it is, it's in black and white, and it just struck me to be so different. I had to paint it. And this is a work in progress from that picture. And this is me with my big brush, because I'm still painting houses. I was recently invited to join a new group of artists, the Regina Art Collective. I was happy and honored to accept. There are 9 of us in the group, and we all show at the Performing Arts Center. This is one of my new paintings. This is another one of my new ones. It's also at that show. And that's my presentation, and thank you for coming. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you have, and thank you. 2 months after my presentation at the MacKenzie Art Gallery, my daughter Allison, who lives in Lumsden, was visiting a friend, Adrian Schroeder, who is a wood carver. He mentioned to her that he had an old book with my name in it and my Winnipeg address. I couldn't believe it. So this is the book that I've been talking about throughout my presentation, and I still can't believe it. I got it back in my hands. It turned out Dave Geddes, who worked with me at Regina Visual Display, was the person I had lent it to, and he had lent it to Adrian. I called Dave Geddes and told him my story. He immediately drove to Adrian's, picked up the book, and I met him an hour later. To hold that book in my hands again after 40 years was very, very emotional. So when I look back at this, when I look back at these dogs, I think I did every one of them. It's just that this happened to be my favorite. This is the one that survived. I don't know. I have no idea where the rest are. Thank goodness my sister in Winnipeg sent it to me, and I was really surprised to see it. And when I compare them now, it's pretty incredible, it being that old. So, and to have that book in my hands again after 40 years, it just brought back memories of my mom and dad and how much they supported me through my years and my love of art. And I'll never forget them for it, and I'll never let go of this book ever again. Another exciting coincidence about receiving this book is my new painting, which is on canvas, quite large, is black and white and reminds me of some of the work I've pulled from my book. It's the Rat Pack, black and white again, of Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra.